This is Chaz Tucker, and you're watching Matburn. The way I describe Brandon to like people who have never met him, I'd be like, Brandon looks like the all-American boy, basically. Blonde hair, blue eyes. He's just ruthlessly wholesome. Ruthlessly wholesome. Everything Brandon does is just has wholesomeness attached to it in a really good way, but sometimes it gets annoying. And
once you meet him, but he's just one of those.
oh,
like,
that's a great shirt.
people.
Look at that.
Oh, see, look, that smile. That's what I'm talking about.
There it
it's
is.
just annoying.
What's wrong? What's
I'm
wrong
just
with
kidding.
being a Patriots fan? Nothing.
Mainly because you gloat.
I'm a sore winner. What can I say?
Yeah, no kidding.
Especially when it comes to
We're
Except
just
when it
used
comes
to winning.
wrestling.
We're just used to it. It's just like every day.
It's just what we do, Brandon. You're not
No,
even
I
an
don't.
Alabama fan. You don't know how to win.
I guess not. I'm pretty sure Auburn beat Alabama this year. I'm trying to remember.
Really?
Did they really? Yeah, they did.
Well, we do have Cam Newton as our new quarterback.
That's true.
And Jared Stidham. So
I did not know that.
we're turning into Auburn.
That's actually wild. I did not know Cam Newton went up there.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it's
I
gonna be
am a big
interesting.
Cam Newton fan, but I don't like the Patriots. So it's that,
I think you're gonna have to come over to the dark side.
I don't know.
We've got Damian Harris, the running back from Alabama, on our team. And he should have a good year because Sonny Michel's hurt. Brandon Bolden, he decided to sit out this year.
James White
is still on the team. Yeah.
But he's so good. feel like he's underrated. He's really good.
So
he's mainly
good.
a receiving running back, but he's talented.
You could say that about everybody on the team.
That's very true.
Maybe. I mean, that's anybody in the NFL. Like, compared to me, they're all pretty dang talented. But I don't know. James White was one of my favorites.
And
I just think he's
who was one of the best Patriots? Stephen Neal. Stephen Neal beat Brock Lesnar in the NCAAs.
Oh, I know that, but I didn't know that he played football.
He didn't until after college. So you could still play. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, gotcha. I guess. I don't know if I'm big enough. I feel like, I need to be like 6'4".
James White's not big.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
He's ripped.
Uh-huh.
He is.
So there's a little difference. I've never been ripped in my life. One thing.
Hello and welcome to Matburn. Tonight we are joined by Chaz Tucker from Worcester, Mass. So, big Patriots fan, from what I understand.
Absolutely.
Which makes him super cool in my book.
It's so sad.
Chaz, I grew up in Framingham.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're practically neighbors.
We are neighbors.
That's right. So we're just gonna skip Brandon today. We're gonna talk about Patriots and Red Sox, and the Bruins are winning. They just swept the Hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Red Sox are a little embarrassing right now.
We don't have to talk about the Red Sox. It's okay. Yeah. We can just pass on
But
them.
On a different note, how awesome is it that sports are back? It's fun to watch. I feel like everybody is just missing out on all of that for a while there, and people are going a little bit of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And,
tonight, I could have watched Joe Biden deliver his acceptance speech, but I decided you guys were far more interesting. So,
well, I would have to agree on that.
Yeah.
I think we're a little bit more interested in Mr. Joe Biden.
So for those who don't know Chaz, he wrestled at Cornell with Brandon. And this year was ranked number 3, undefeated, and then they canceled the championship on him. Can't believe it. This was his year to shine, and they stole it from him. Mm-hmm. So welcome to the show, Chaz. Why don't you comment on your feelings? We've had Brandon come on in the past and talk about his disappointment with it, but it must be worse for you because you were on the cusp of practically winning the whole thing and becoming the first-time All-American.
Mm-hmm. So it was, I remember getting the news. I practiced earlier in that day, and just leading up to everything was starting to shut down. So I was a little bit prepared before they really released that they were going to shut down. But it was, I mean, it hurt. It was tough, but I had Brandon, there with me. I had my whole team with me, so it wasn't necessarily it wasn't too hurtful. I mean, I know that season was canceled and I was on the cusp of everything, but just taking the bigger picture, I stepped back and took a look at the bigger picture. Like I had my team with me. I got whatever I wanted out of wrestling. Discipline, learning hard work, showing that to myself that I was possible and I could succeed at the highest level. That's what I wanted to do, and that's what I think I did that last year. So the national tournament would have been just an icing on a cake, but sometimes you don't get what you want. But
I'm going to ask you straight up if you're the best wrestler to ever come out of Massachusetts.
Ooh, am I?
Yes.
I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know.
Who else would be up there?
There's Vic Avery. But other and
you
I know
could
there
think
was
of one other person.
There was one. I think there was one national champ from Massachusetts. I forget who. I'm kind of blanking on the name, but it was a little bit back in the day. But
In the 50s or something.
maybe.
All right. So you're from a small wrestling state like Brandon, and Brandon is the best wrestler to come out of Alabama. So I don't know what that says about Alabama. I mean, we could be great if you compare us all, if we're all like Brandon, but he's probably, far ahead of most of the kids. So Brandon said he wanted to have this show to kind of talk about coming from these lesser known wrestling states and what did it take and how can we grow our states to get them up to like the Pennsylvania and New Jersey levels?
Right. So just like you said and Brandon said, Massachusetts and New England, they don't really get the recognition that I think we deserve. There's a lot of wrestlers. There's some really tough wrestlers that know how to compete and know how to hang with the tough guys in the nation. With the Pennsylvania, with the New York, with the New Jersey, with the California, all those really good states. And the way I see it, kind of really just building up from the ground level of wrestling, of the youth wrestling, getting more kids in the room, having.
How did you first get started?
So this is actually awesome. So I went to a all sports camp, youth camp at Worcester Academy, which is where I went to middle school. This little private school in Worcester. And it was like an all sports camp. I was like 4 and a half. The lowest you could get in was 5. So my mom was like, he's 5. So I got in. And once a day, this was kind of unheard of, in the all sports camp. Once a day, you have we had wrestling for 30 minutes every day. They had a wrestling room in there and we rolled out the mats and we wrestled for 30 minutes. The counselors had no idea what was going on. They just showed us how to do a half Nelson and they were just like, all right, wrestle live. So, and after that, I came back every day and I was like, Mom, I want to wrestle. I want to wrestle. I want to wrestle. That following year, I went back home and I joined the rec youth club. So the rec wrestling place.
I have to be honest, when I was a kid, I didn't hear of any wrestling clubs. I never even knew it existed outside of high school. Because there's no middle school teams, and I didn't personally know anybody who did until I got to high school. That's pretty common in Massachusetts, right?
100%. I know a lot of people who just join in, their 8th grade, 9th grade year. They're like, where was wrestling at all? they have usually a friend that's been wrestling for a while, or they meet someone who's been wrestling for a while in high school, and or on the football team, they say, hey, why don't you come in and wrestle and try it out. It'll get you in good shape for football next year, something like that.
Yeah.
And once they try it after that, and they like working hard, so they just get better.
Yeah, we're down here in football country, but Massachusetts, when I was growing up, is soccer country.
It is. It's more soccer now. I think it's more of a mix of both, but it's mostly football.
Would you say that
it's
that's
a mix.
because of Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski and
Oh
Julian
my
Edelman, and
goodness.
like bringing football back to? Because when I was growing up, we had Steve Grogan and Tony Eason, and we got clobbered by the Bears in 1985, and that this was before you were born, I bet. But yeah, so football wasn't a very big sport until Tom Brady showed up.
Yeah, now football is so much bigger in Massachusetts. A lot of wrestlers, play football too, and they're just like, yeah, we go out there, we play football for a little bit, but then we can get back in the wrestling room. But I know a lot of wrestlers who go out there and play some football, and they love it.
Are the coaches pretty supportive of football players also wrestling? Because down here, they're all football. You play football, that's all you're going to do.
So some of the coaches that I know coach both wrestling and football. Usually there's an assistant coach, and the assistant football coach is a head wrestling coach. So you'll get these scenarios where they're like, yeah, you can come out and play football, but if you really love wrestling, then you can get out of here and go wrestle. Like that's kind of the what I've seen the culture a little bit, but it's not like, I know Alabama is huge in football, huge. It's not like that in Massachusetts.
It's another religion down here. That's for sure. Yeah,
for sure. I think what you were talking about football and Tom Brady and that kind of stuff. I mean, if you look at Chaz's career, I mean, he might be like the next step for Massachusetts in wrestling. Like, he's actually going back. Just to kind of give you a little more information in general, he's going back and he's like doing camps and coaching, doing practices up in Boston area now. He's living in Salem, I believe. And just to kind of add a little
Salem,
more
New Hampshire.
Salem, Mass.
Okay.
Just to give a little more like background information, I lived with Chaz. He's been my best friend throughout college. He's an awesome guy. And since COVID and everything, we kind of got separated. We've been keeping in touch, but he's been looking for a job. And he was thinking about going to graduate school and coaching and actually at NC State. And he was looking at job opportunities at the same time. And long story short, he actually just got a job offer to work up in Boston. He's a computer science engineer and just got his first computer science job working in Boston at a tech company. And so I just wanted to say congratulations and let everybody know how smart he is also, that he had a really hard major. He's a really good wrestler and he's a really good human. So, tie all those things together. He's a really good role model for a lot of these kids in Massachusetts or any state, really. He came from a state that didn't have a lot of wrestling, and he really went out and got the opportunity and the exposure in other areas and made the most of it. And little does he know, but I believe in him. I think more than anybody could believe in a person. And I always used to tell him, if you believe in yourself as much as I believe in you, you'll be a national champion. And that was 100% true. And I think he was going to do it this year. But the funny thing is he's always been capable of it. He just got in his head a little bit and was a little nervous or scared or anxious. But and I think that's kind of the thing that Alabama, New Hampshire, a lot of these smaller states, it's hard to have that confidence when you don't have that exposure, when you don't have that opportunity, when you don't get all of the different experiences. And I think that's a big part of what we need to work on. I mean, we're getting closer to that, but I think that's a big part of it. And I think for me, I face the same thing, challenges as Chaz a lot of times. that confidence. I mean, yeah, we know we're good and we work hard and we put in the work, but it's hard to be confident sometimes when you don't have that exposure,
So
when you
Brandon's
don't have that experience.
a 6-time Alabama state champ, and he goes off to Cornell with no confidence in himself. It's very bizarre. And he described the moment when he finally started to believe in him, which was your All-American year, right? You had that one coach who kept telling you how good you were going to be. And it's nice to see
Donnie
you
Vincent.
pass that on to Jazz. Yeah.
He's actually at NC State, and he was trying to recruit Chaz to come and coach there.
Oh,
so
come on
me
down.
and Chaz were both really close with Donnie.
Mm-hmm.
He's an awesome guy.
Great guy.
And I think, it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because in general, I think all of us have that person in our life. For me, a long time it was my dad, and in college it was Donnie Vincent or Kyle Dake, but that person that truly believes in you and can believe you can do anything you set your mind to kind of mentality. And it takes those kind of people to be in your corner for most people. Maybe not everybody. Some people can do it themselves and carry all the stress and burden and all of that stuff and deal with everything themselves, but those are far and few between. And when you have that support system, when you have that person that really believes in you and cares about you and wants the best for you, that means a lot. And I think, not that people don't care as much in Alabama and Massachusetts and stuff like that, but if we had more people that would be willing to do that, I think wrestling would continue to grow at a greater rate than what it is now, maybe. Or
well, that's why it's important that people like you both come back and show everyone that we did it, you can do it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what Chaz is doing, and that's why he's coaching every day and all that kind of stuff. And
you have your own club, Chaz?
So I coach kind of wherever I can go. There's a club that I was a part of that really helped me growing up, that they're still around today. A lot of Massachusetts clubs, at least back in my time when I was, youth wrestling, they started up and then they kind of lost traction. But this club that I was at for a while, it was actually my first wrestling club ever. They're still around, Doughboy Wrestling Club in Lowell, Massachusetts. They're awesome. They're great guys. And I came back and I was like, hey, is there any chance that I could get in the room? I don't even have to coach. I just want to, be around and see if I could help out. And they're like, no, just start running practices. So they're like, you can run practices and stuff. I was like, okay, this is great. So I'm there. There's also a local club in Danvers that I help out with, Mercury Rising Wrestling Club. And
Salem's not really near Lowell.
Yeah, but I make the drive out. It's just
that's not a good drive.
I know there's Boston traffic is crazy.
Yeah,
but if
they think it's really bad in Birmingham.
They do. Oh,
it's embarrassing.
Well, I could not move for like 30 minutes in Boston traffic, and I'd be like, oh, it's not bad.
Yeah. That's a good day, right?
Yeah, it's a good day. But I will definitely make the sacrifices just to promote the sport and help everyone out and help whoever I can.
So your high school career was a bit different than Brandon's. Brandon went to like a school with 10 people in it, and you went to Blair Academy, which is the premier wrestling prep school in the country. So tell us how you got into there. So
that was kind of weird. It was fun though. So I was at a middle school called middle school at Worcester called Worcester Academy, and I knew I wanted to go to boarding school. There's a couple of factors, mostly just so I could kind of be on my own and see how it was like. I was like ready. I was like, I could be on my own. My sister was about to be in college, so I was like, I could do that too. So I went out and I was looking at different boarding schools, one with, good academics and of course good wrestling. I was like, I can do this. And I was looking at Massachusetts and all these other places within Massachusetts and maybe New Hampshire. And then my mom called me one day and she said, I found the booth of Blair Academy and I got their information. So we my mom, my dad, and I, we go down there one weekend. I think it was weekday. We go down there and we visit. I meet Coach Buxton, the coach, and I actually go out and wrestle in a practice. And apparently I did well because he was like, "Yeah, you're coming here," and I was like, "What?"
Nice.
And I had no idea who I was wrestling. I went in there. Apparently, I was wrestling Joey McKenna.
Wow.
It was his freshman year,
Yeah.
and I didn't care who I was wrestling. I didn't know who I was wrestling. Right?
It's better that way, isn't it?
Yeah, so much better. So I was walking in with a chip on myself to these people. I'm just as good, even though I'm from Massachusetts. I'm just as good. So I go in there, and I think we went for a while, and a couple goes, and he took me down a couple. Well, actually, I know he took me down 3 times, and I was so mad. I was like, "Mom, like they're not gonna like me." Dad, I was like, "Dad, Mom, they're not gonna like me. I wasn't good enough." Blah blah blah. And Coach Buxton called, and he was just like, "Yeah, he's good enough. He's coming here." And I had no idea. I was like, "Oh, apparently that guy was good."
So you went on to become a 4-time prep school finalist and 2-time champion.
Right.
According to the Cornell website.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, that happened. It was wild just going from, wrestling by myself. Well, not really by myself, but just me and my dad traveling places, trying to get myself better, going and wrestling a bunch of different people, trying to learn from a bunch of different people, just, being more breadth. And it takes a lot of time doing that, to everything being concentrated into one room and one practice and one kind of system. It was definitely a shift. And it was also like college in that way, but it was definitely a shift for, I wrestle at Doughboys one day, and then I go wrestle with the high school, and then I go wrestle with this other club. I go to a tournament over here, and I go to another tournament with these guys over here. And then having everything concentrated in one place, it was great because I didn't have to travel a lot and it wasn't taking a lot of time away. But it was definitely different because, how do I explain it? It was just different. It was good. I can just say that.
Good.
It was good.
Let's see. You have I did a lot of research on the Cornell website, but what caught my eye was the victory against Austin DeSanto.
Yes,
it's a big one.
That's a big one. Yeah. And then this year against that Lehigh wrestler, Nick Farrow.
Mm-hmm.
So are those the 2 best wins that you've had so far?
So far, I'm not really sure. I always liked my matches with Montoyo Bridges from Wyoming.
And he's good.
He was really good, and he beat me all up until this year. So that was nice to wrestle him again, and
you finally got him. That's good.
Finally get him
twice, right?
Yeah, twice.
Twice. He wrestled him down in Florida, and he wrestled him at Vegas. Correct, in the finals.
Right.
And they were both barn burners. I think one was overtime, or maybe they were both overtime. I think one was overtime. The second one wasn't.
Oh no, the first one wasn't overtime either.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, both barn burners. And here's the thing about Chaz. And when Chaz is in a match, especially a close one, he does this thing where he doesn't shoot. And we're like, Chaz, pull the trigger, just shoot. And like, I swear, if you took the like percentage of his like finishes when he actually takes a shot, it's like easily above 70, which I'd say is pretty dang good. If he takes like 5 shots, he'll score 3 times. I mean, it's super, super, like if he just shoots,
he waits for the right moment, right?
Yeah.
But no,
if it's not there, it's not there.
He just gets in his head, and he's super explosive. He keeps good position, but when he wants to score, he can score. And it's always funny because like the coaches will get on him right at the end of the period or something, and he'll be kind of just lollygagging, making sure he doesn't get scored on. And I say that, but I mean, obviously he's wrestling, but he's just, kind of being defensive. And then they're like, pull the trigger, and he'll shoot, right? Like, he'll wait till there's like 2 seconds left on the clock. And they're like, you got in deep, you're about to finish. Like, why don't you just shoot earlier? And if Chaz would pull the trigger a little more, I think instead of winning a couple of close matches, he would probably destroy people. But he's so freaking gifted and so hard to score on. And that's one thing that Bridges, when they wrestled, it was just, you know, he scored when he had the opportunity, and he kept really good position, and Bridges just couldn't score on him. I mean, the second time they wrestled, he was like scrambling and trying and like kind of going crazy. He kind of freaked out. He was like, I don't know what to do with this guy. But that was always a fun match for me to watch for sure. But you had some other ones. This was all his freshman year. As soon as he got all that hype.
Was that sophomore year?
He was at Drexel.
Yeah, that was the second year.
Oh.
I wrestled him twice
year.
I wrestled him twice that year. Once at the duel away, and he beat me on a stall call.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, you really don't shoot.
They stalled you out of the match. Yeah.
No, it was this stall call was weird.
Did the thing and just pushed.
One was I don't want to make excuses because he beat me. We'll say he beat me, but. So one was mat return, I think, and the other one was I got poked in the eye, and then I backed up, and they hit me for stalling, and I was just like, "What are you doing?"
Well, he kept doing that collar tie and grabbing your wrist and like burying his head in the mat, which is like weird, and then he would just run. He didn't try to score. Wasn't offensive, and he would just run. And I remember that match at EIWA's actually, and I was sitting on the stands, and his mom was up behind me, and she was losing her mind. You want to talk about a crazy mom? Like, she was yelling that he was stalling. She was yelling that Cornell are cheaters and all this stuff. I mean, it was wild. She called us many, many, many names. And I'm not kidding you, 2 rows in front of her, and I look, and I'm just like, what is your problem? Like, your son lost. I'm sorry. And she lost it. And one of my coaches, Donnie, Donnie was there that year, I think. And he literally turned around and just laughed. He looked at her and laughed. And I about cried. But yeah, his mom was really, really, really upset. And I think honestly, kind of, he was unhappy at that point with Drexel, and kind of part of the reason he ended up leaving and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. He was already talking about it at that point. And that was a tough move.
Yeah, but he had a tough year this year, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't talk about Austin too much. I met him like a couple months ago when he came to Warrior to do a clinic, and he couldn't have been nicer. So I'm not gonna.
Oh no, he's a good guy, yeah, but you know how it gets when you get in that. I mean, some of the best people I've met, you meet over some weird situations, and when you get in the heat of the moment and you're there and you're cheering people on and people get fired up and everything, and I mean, he's just out there trying to wrestle and win matches. He's an awesome guy. He works really hard, and you have to respect it. Right. He puts his all out there and goes with everything he has, and he's really good. So nothing but respect for Austin for sure.
So you have 4 EIWA titles?
I have 3.
3?
So, my
only wrestled 3 years.
I only wrestled 3 years.
Were you at the Fangirl Lakes Club?
I had 2 medical red shirts. One was because of my shoulder, which I hurt my senior year of high school. I had surgery, and by the time school went around my freshman year, I couldn't really wrestle. It was still a little hurt, and I was still doing rehab. Then my sophomore year, I broke my wrist. This small bone in your wrist called the scaphoid bone, and I broke it, and I was out for was it like 6-7 months, Brandon?
It was way too long. Originally, they said like 6 weeks possibly when they first broke, and like you might still be able to wrestle. And then I swear every time Chaz went to the doctor, they're like 6 more weeks.
6 more
and,
weeks.
I think it was definitely over 4 months, 4 or 5 months. And he got hurt at the very beginning of season in practice, not even on actual practice, messing around, rolling around.
Yeah.
It was a tough one. I think it was ultimately 6 months, and you had all those little rehab toys and.
Yeah, there must have been a lot of atrophy if you couldn't use your wrist.
Oh my gosh, yes. I was my grip was like, the difference was like 90 pounds difference between like right and my left when I was just squeezing. Wow. And yeah, it was weird. And also my forearm was just so skinny. Ooh,
you did end up having surgery on that, right?
Yeah, I had surgery on it.
Yeah.
They put a screw right through the bone.
Yeah, and that's why it took so long, because they said that scaphoid bone like doesn't heal properly. It doesn't have the blood flow to heal on its own, so he had to have the surgery. And when they kept going back, it just never healed, just way longer. So yeah, that was crazy. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to go back and wrestle another year, I heard, or something. He has another year.
I didn't know you could get red shirts in Ivy League.
Medical.
You can get medical. You can't get, what is it? Non-medical. Yeah.
You can't get like a just a normal red shirt, like
regular you're not ready shirt.
Yep. Yeah, you're not ready. Exactly.
You're not ready. Shit.
I needed one of those because when I came out of high school, I was very physically underdeveloped compared to the people like Gabe Dean and Brian Obuto.
Well, you should have trained with Manny.
I should have done something, because when I came out, I was pretty small, but I think I made it work. So I made it work and figured it out.
You got so much better between the first time you stepped on the mat and then the first day of your freshman year. It was insane. And then you made the same leap again that whole year, going up to your All-American, becoming an All-American. I remember just watching Brandon get better, and in the room when he was wrestling Gabe Dean and Brian Rebuto in a 3-man group. And my favorite moment was when Brandon and the same go headlocked Gabe, and then also Peterson Gabe in the same go, and then the next go, Gabe was so mad he was like punching Brandon in the face. It was great. It was awesome.
That's great. You're feeling it that day.
Yeah, I had like an awesome day, and then I got my tail kicked. I mean, I got whooped, and he was so physical, and I really wasn't that physical. I've never have been when it comes to wrestling. But
he's
so
my
much
bigger than you too.
Yeah, I was 165 that year, and he was 184. But he didn't really like wrestling me, but I think I made him better because I was squirmy, and I just like almost had the mentality that like I was like, it doesn't matter who you are, I'm gonna go and try and score, and I with less respect than I think he would hope. You know what I mean? Yeah. When someone's at that level, they demand a certain amount of respect, and I just kind of went out there and I'm like, I don't care who you are, I'm not gonna let you kick my tail. I'm gonna try and come after you with everything I have, and that was the thing. It seemed like he would get so frustrated because I would like always get the first takedown, and then he would proceed to kick me across the floor as I was like laying on the mat. But yeah,
he'd get you really tired.
He would get me so tired, and I'd be exhausted. And he was bigger than me, and he was just like hand on my head, pushing my head down as he was like, "Get up," Like I was like, I used all my gas tank in the first go.
We may not get this opportunity too many times in the future to hear some more Brandon Womack stories, Chaz. So why don't you regale us with some of those?
Oh, Brandon Womack stories. That was the headlocking game was a good day for me too. I was sitting there. That's when I was hurt with the wrist injury. So I went in there, ran a lot, and then sat down and watched the live. And that day I was just sitting watching Gabe, Brian, and Brandon just go at it, and that was awesome. What else? What other Brandon stories?
I feel like Chaz has seen me in like my worst moments, because I mean we were not only like teammates, but like he was my best friend. So he saw me like
That's
in
what I'm
some harsh
waiting for, some
moments.
dirt. I want some dirt
He
here.
saw me
That's
in some
dirt.
moments where like I was struggling, but you know, he was always the person that would talk to me and that kind of stuff. And honestly, if it wasn't for Chaz, like he kept me on the straight and narrow in the sense that like, I mean, everybody has that day that you feel beat up and you feel down and whatever. And I mean, yeah, I could call and talk to my parents, but Chaz was always that person that like, look at that smile. I mean, you can't help but like brighten your day and kind of keep you going. And he has some sort of positive outlook and silver lining on everything. And
So who made who go to class?
I made Brandon go to class 100%. That I was about to say. I was about to give you some stories about this. Brandon, granted, you know, super talented wrestler, also really smart, but he has this thing where if he goes to sleep after midnight, after 11, he cannot get up. He just won't get up until probably around 11, 12 o'clock. I don't know what it is, but he'll go to sleep at 10 and wake up at, he'll go to sleep at 9, 10 and wake up at like 6 or earlier, like no problem. But if it's after midnight, so after 11, he just won't get up. So there was multiple times when I started realizing this. There's multiple, he had like an 8 a.m. class one semester, couple semesters. And he'd be up hanging out with all of us, and it would be like 11. It would be like right around that time where if he goes to sleep now, he'll be able to wake up. If he doesn't, he won't be able to get up. And I always said, Brandon, you got to go to sleep right now. He's like, no, I'm hanging out with everyone. I'm having fun. Next day rolls around, I get up, because I don't know how it's
slow learner, isn't he?
Slow learner. Oh gosh.
The thing about it is, and I mean, I told Chaz this, and Chaz is kind of a stickler where, like, with his subject, he kind of had to learn it in person and everything. And I said, you know, I was like, and this is actually truthful, and I think there's a point to be made on, like, this kind of topic is sometimes when you're having, like, really good conversations or we were doing something and it was, like, it wasn't that, like, everyday conversation or that everyday hanging out that like it was rare that all four of us that live in our apartment got together and it was all four of us and got to spend time together and enjoy ourselves and whatnot. And I was like, you know, there's some times that you're willing to make a little bit of sacrifice, whether it was studying for a test that I need to be studying for or going to sleep and, you know, maybe missing one class. I mean, don't get me wrong, I probably missed more than I should have, but I also knew the classes and I understood my classes to this extent that I knew which ones I could miss and couldn't miss and that kind of thing. And yeah, I made some sacrifices to enjoy and be happy. There's an aspect of when I first got to college, I tried to like throw everything away and focus on wrestling and this and that, and like didn't have a social life and didn't have friends and that's really hard. It wore on me a lot. Like, talk about feeling like depressed. I mean, you feel sad and lonely. So, I mean, there's some times that school's important, priority, 100%, but you just have to budget your time and, you know, pay attention, organize everything. But when that one time, if you do that appropriately and you make it to most of your classes that you can, every once in a while, it's okay to let it slide. But Chaz was definitely always on me. He's the guy like, you can't miss, and he could run on 4 hours of sleep and I needed like 8, or I was like not functional. I was like, if I went to class, it'd be pointless. I'd be falling asleep. Like, I'm not functional at this point. So we definitely had some different debates, but one story, and this is actually early on. Yeah, we had a bunch of debates. We used to argue, but it was always like civil. We have, I grew up in the South, super one way. And I went there, and Chaz is not anything like I grew up around.
Well, he's probably like everyone I grew up around.
Probably. And I mean, really, like, we challenged each other, and it was understanding why you think a certain way, why you believe a certain thing, and just learning. I mean, that's one of the coolest things. And like those conversations, those things where we would have late night talks and debates and that kind of thing, like that's what's fun. That's how you grow as a person, how you learn, how you change and adapt. Like everything that I was taught or learned or understood being someone from the South, a more conservative area,
I definitely challenged him.
doesn't mean that was right for me. And he would challenge and I would challenge him, and we went back and forth, and we had reasons or maybe sometimes we'd be like, I don't really know why I think this way. Let's look into it. And that was fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I grew up in Boston, I was more conservative than most people. So when I was up there, I never talked about politics. But when I went down south, you know, I felt really at home with that sort of thing. But down here, I can't talk about religion with anybody.
Right.
So I think those are the main differences. It's a totally different culture. You know, I came down the very first day I moved here, which was like 15, 16 years ago. I went into the supermarket. Jazz will find the humor in this. I don't think you will. But I went to the supermarket, and this woman, I was in the egg section. This woman comes up and just starts talking to me. And he knows what I mean, right?
Yeah. This is hilarious. I'm sorry.
Because in Boston, you only talk to people if you want something or you're crazy. So, you know, you just don't make eye contact with strangers or anything like that. So I wasn't sure what this woman was up to my first day down here. And then I quickly realized that everybody in the South is super friendly. And it changed me very quickly. But growing up around, not being around that is very strange.
Yeah.
You must have experienced that when you went up to New York.
Oh, for sure. And I think, you know, it's the exact opposite. You know, I was like, man, these people are cold. Did they care? Like that kind of thing. And that's why I think socially, like that adaptation, the transition period was a little longer for me. And I was like, man, do these people not like me? And like the idea of like courtesies and invitation and that kind of stuff. I mean, it was just a little different. They were like, if you want to come. And I'm like, well, I wasn't invited. Like, why would I go hang out? And it was just a different culture. I mean, we had people from all over, and I was never the person. I was like, I'm not going to go somewhere unless I'm invited, because I don't want to feel like I push myself or whatever and all this stuff. And just like learning and understanding everything, that was a big part of it. But also people, like kind of like what you said, in certain areas, or, you know, you go to the store, people kind of just go about their business. People don't wave when you're driving down the street, or, you know, someone's walking, you don't like put your hand out the window and say whatever, you know.
You get a different response in Boston.
Oh, for sure. I've been to Boston a few
little
times.
Different.
It's definitely
it won't be
different.
the whole hand they hold out.
But one thing, like, you know, coming from the South, I actually always consider myself not liberal, but more that way. Like, I was like, man, these people are like really conservative, and Republican. And I was like, I think I'm probably like more on the Democratic side, a little more like middle, but left. And then I went up there and I'm like, woo, I'm definitely a more right, a little right over here, but I'm definitely more like in the center somewhere. And I think that's one thing why me and Chaz can have a lot of these conversations and like challenge each other, is because I'm very hard to argue with. I'm set in my ways and I'm a pain in the butt sometimes. But when me and Chaz have those conversations, I'll always listen once.
I love arguing with them. It is so, Brandon.
You'll be surprised at all the things that Chaz has probably put in your head. 10 years from now, you'll be like, oh, you know, he had a point to that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is I think I do listen when he says stuff. And sometimes I challenge or have a different views, or, you know, we have a good discussion, or, you know, really just understanding where you came from, because where you came from, who you're around, how you're raised, a lot of that dictates a lot of your views, beliefs, etc. And just understanding where that came from, why I believe that way. Like, if there wasn't a reason, I wanted to know why, and I would look into it, and we would have more discussions, and like really just challenge yourself. It's like, I'm my own person, and I can make these opinions and see these different things. You don't have to go with the flow of like what everyone around you says. But Cornell definitely challenged me in a lot of ways that I never thought I would be challenged. But then some things I was like, oh yeah, this is really me. I believe this, and this is whatever. And some things I was like, man, that makes sense. Like, maybe I am, you know, maybe just, I didn't really believe it, but I was told it. And that was what's like in my head. Or
it's really important to be exposed to different viewpoints, and to be open to at least understanding where they come from. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that we talk past each other now because we always think we're right and that it can't possibly be another way to look at something.
All of it was strange for me. Since Cornell was in the Northeast, I was used to the kind of culture there. So when I went there, I was just like, oh, this is just normal for me. But the difference between when I first met Brandon, I always got really frustrated with him, and he got more New York like and more New York Northeast like. But at first, I always got frustrated with him because I was like, Brandon, where's your hustle? You're doing everything so slow. And Brandon would be like, there's nowhere to go. I'm like, it doesn't matter. You need to pick up the pace.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so true. You know, I worked in New York for a year or two, New York City. And then I went on vacation to an island somewhere. And I just couldn't relax. Like the cab driver's on island time and he's driving so slow. And I'm like, come on, we got to get to the hotel. It took me 3 days to unwind and stop thinking like a New Yorker.
So that was the biggest.
I don't think you got Brandon to speed up at all, though. I think he's still kind of laid back.
He got a lot faster.
Really?
Not much. He's laid back, but when he first got there, when we had nowhere to go, he'd be driving in a 30 at like 15 miles per hour, and I'd be sitting there pulling out my hair. I'd be like, Brandon, or like I was like, Brandon, we need to go home because we just went to practice. We can't be going at 15 miles per hour in a 30. We have like 800 cars behind us. Brandon, you got to move. He's like, there's nowhere to be. It's okay.
Yeah, for sure. People would be driving up behind me, and I'm like, why are they in a rush? Why are they riding my tail?
Oh my God.
And I was just like having a conversation.
Oh, God.
Sorry, I'm moving rooms. We got to put baby to sleep.
Oh, wow.
What's up, buddy?
Hi,
buddy. Say hi.
Hi.
Hello.
And that's my fiance.
Yeah. So I was going to get to that, Chaz. I was going to ask you if you played any role in introducing them.
I actually didn't, but I did play a role in interrogating her to making sure she was the right one for Brandon. She it was great. She interrogating is a strong word, but it was great. She came in to the apartment one day, and all the roommates we sat down. We were having a conversation.
Pulled up a chair.
We usually do this a lot whenever anyone has like girl or something, and she went through like the whole like, oh, I hope she's good like phase, and then she goes and meets the roommates, and that's kind of a real test because we'll sit in there and we have a conversation like she's not there, but she's there. But we'll have a conversation like she's not there. But then every once in a while, usually me, because I'm totally the instigator, I would be like, oh, what do you think? What do you think, Katie? Like, what do you think? And they get all flustered. They'd be like, what?
You put her on the spot.
She's like quiet and shy. Like she'll talk, but when you first get to know her, like she's a very soft-spoken, like quiet person.
So that was hilarious. That was a lot of fun. This year, when she was hanging out, a little culture difference because Brandon he'd always express his feelings. And I don't know if that's just a Brandon thing or if that's also a Southern thing. Yeah. But he'd always express his feelings. I always, the way I describe Brandon to like people who have never met him, I'd be like, Brandon looks like the all-American boy, basically, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes. He's just ruthlessly wholesome. Everything Brandon does has wholesomeness attached to it in a really good way, but sometimes it gets annoying, and that's where we would clash.
That's his reputation here in Alabama too, by the way.
He was honestly our dads when it came to a couple of things, and we'd be like, Brandon, it doesn't matter, and he'd be like, it does matter. We have to do things right, and he would like grill into us, and and I'm taught us about the roommates and even teammates too. He'd get in heated debates, and he'd be like, "It's not right. You have to do it the right way." And I was like, "Brandon, you need to
Right. Character matters.
Yeah,
for sure.
You got that from the Big Sexy.
I guess so. Yeah, Dad taught me right.
Jazz knows the Big Sexy.
I know Big Sexy.
Have you ever seen the picture though?
No, still want to
I
see it.
haven't.
Yeah, I'll have to
Dig it
show
up.
you guys. Probably not on air, but
We'll make T-shirts out of it.
Yeah.
yeah, he. Did I tell you the story at all? That
You told us the story.
yeah, that Arturo gave him a singlet. He ordered an extra singlet and he put it on, and took a picture and sent it to Arturo. And Arturo sent a message back to my mom, and it was just like, "Big Sexy."
I love it.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. He said he needs to wear that to the duel. that would be funny.
Yeah. There've been a lot of requests for that picture, so.
Oh no.
Dig it up.
I might have to find it. We might have to post it on Facebook or something.
Yes, please. That'd be hilarious.
That would be funny. I don't remember if it was ever posted, but I mean, my dad's a pretty shameless guy. I don't think he'd really care. So we'll have to see.
No, but everyone else would love it, so that's why we have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. They'd laugh for sure. For sure. So, I guess I don't know how much time you guys have, but if you guys have a few more minutes, I just kind of wanted to see. I'm actually not down in Alabama, but how is everything moving down there? Where I'm at, it seems to be somewhat moving okay, but I know it's all a little crazy.
We're not like New York. We're wide open.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
So as far as like practices and stuff like that, any tournaments, anything like that?
Yeah, they got the Super 32 qualifiers coming up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Never miss that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the season's going to happen, because
I don't know either.
That's not going to be decided by wrestling coaches, I'm sure.
Right.
So how is that working for like high schools and whatnot? Are they actually testing people before they go back to school or anything like that, or probably not?
No. Gabby started
like my brother.
And
high school?
Yeah, well, she's a junior now, and
Gotcha.
So she started her first class today, and there's no testing. You just have to wear a mask, and they split the school. They said they took a survey who wants to homeschool, and 66% of people wanted to go to school. So then they took that 66% and divided them in half and say, okay, half of you come 2 days a week, the other half come in 2 days a week, and you homeschool the other 2 days. So they're spread out and they're wearing masks, but
I gotcha.
the risk to kids is very small. So
yeah, that's true. But I actually just got a phone call today, and my little brother actually had to test for college, and he had it. He didn't know.
Asymptomatic though, right?
Asymptomatic, but I don't know. It's still kind of like frightening in the sense that, you don't really know what's going on. And they say you can't transmit it sometimes, and they say you can when you're asymptomatic. You can't when you're asymptomatic. There's really no like good data to say.
Confusing data out there.
Yeah, a lot of confusing things out there saying different things and whether they can or can't. And he actually got tested last week on like Thursday, and then he went home over the weekend before school started on Monday. And so he was around my parents and my cousin and all this stuff, and it's just, you realize really quick that
be quarantined.
Yeah, right now. I mean, my mom tried to get tested at work, but they said unless she has symptoms, they won't and whatnot. So she just has to wear a mask, wash her hands, all that stuff. And it's just like, that's kind of crazy to me, like we should be in a better position, I feel like, to test if you're ever exposed to someone that was positively confirmed, just to make sure. I mean, that's for the safety of everyone else, not necessarily for that person. I'm not really worried about my brother and he's quarantining now, but more worried about like my family or, my dad or my mom or whatever. It's that age group and older that
those Northeastern liberals have really gotten to you, Brandon.
Well, I'm not saying that they would be. Like, I could personally, I'm not worried, but when you think about if you ever got it and took it back to your grandparents or your family, and someone actually got really sick or, God forbid, died or something like that, you would feel awful and you'd feel guilty.
I did get to him.
You did.
Yeah, that's Chaz.
You
So
broke
I
him.
actually,
This is all me. This
it's
is
all Chaz.
all the conversation.
I was like, I'm not worried at all, Chaz. And Chaz was like, oh, you should be. And I was like, you should come down here and like do a wrestling camp, and we're gonna do this. And I was gonna do one in Tennessee and Alabama and have him down for like a weekend and that kind of stuff. And he's like, there's a pandemic going on right now. Like, it's crazy. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't seem like it down here. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And
it's so different from, the Massachusetts is probably 100% different from Alabama right now. Just like everyone's
terrified up there, running around like chicken.
Terrified up there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've looked a lot into the data, the doctors, and all this different stuff, and there's so much different stuff out there. I've listened to a lot of different people talk about it and whatnot. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I mean, a lot of it ultimately is people's decision or opinion. But at the same time, there's a lot of doctors saying different things, and it's like hard to know what's going on or who to believe or whatnot. And I think the misinformation is kind of what makes it scary. I'm not necessarily afraid of it, but it makes it scary because like you don't really know if you have all this misinformation, and people just like want to try and tell you something, so they throw information at you, but it's not always accurate.
And if you'll see like certain people telling you one thing and then other people telling you the other, and you don't even know where like politically they're leaning, and then you're just, or like you don't know who to listen to, and then you're sitting here, you're like, all right, who do I listen to?
What am I supposed to do? Do I need to quarantine?
I think you just take common sense precautions.
Yeah.
But you have to live your life. You have to go about your life.
No, I agree for sure. But I mean, in that situation, so, say one of your kids had it and brought it home and you were around them, like, would you take precautions or would you just?
Personally,
yeah,
I would deliberately try to infect myself just to get it over with.
Yeah, but what about the people that you're around?
I would stay at home for 2 weeks, just so I could build up the immunity and get on with my life.
No, I agree for sure. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not worried about me, and I don't think my brother is either. But he's worried about my dad or my mom or my grandmother. You know, and
I'm worried about my parents, but it's not. I don't feel like I have to stay home because my mother in Arizona.
Right, for sure. And I agree with that. And I think if you feel comfortable and you're willing to take that chance and everything, that's what you should do. I think you should have the freedom to do what you want and work or be out and risk. That is your own risk, but be smart about it. Don't be dumb.
Right. I wouldn't ask you to shut down your business or not go to work to save my mother. And that's the way I look at it. I couldn't ask anyone else to stop living their life because my mother's at risk. But if they're careful, and my mother needs to be more careful than them, she needs to stay home and order stuff and unfortunately not see her grandchildren and stuff like that. But that's the reality of it.
I think I agree with all of that completely. I guess the dilemma that I kind of ran into, and I was like, my mom was actually supposed to come up here this weekend, and just to kind of put things in perspective, like this is the mentality, this is the thing that I was looking at is my fiance's family's coming in and she's going wedding dress shopping. And then my fiance's family, her two sisters both had kids, one has a heart defect, so like, do you risk that? And her dad's been sick and he's had some lung issues, so like, do you risk, if there's any possibility, I wouldn't want to put that on my family or people that I love and care about.
That's common sense to me.
Exactly. But like my mom was like, well, can I still come? And I'm like, Mom, I love you, I want you to be here, but I wouldn't, because I would never put those people at risk. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with, I'm going to do my part.
I'm certain your mother would
not for
understand.
myself, but for everyone else, if that makes sense. And I mean, she was just excited about it. She was looking forward to it. She was a special moment, I feel like, when she's going and looking for a wedding dress, and that's hopefully a one-time thing that she can go and find the dress that she loves, and now she's going to be seeing it via FaceTime, which is definitely different. But
So when is
yeah,
the wedding, Brandon?
we actually just set a date. It's gonna be September 18th next year.
All right.
All right,
Got
so
it.
Yeah,
Jazz is coming.
Yeah,
Jazz is coming.
I'm gonna go and have some fun with Brandon.
Yeah,
It's good. We'll show you around. We'll get you. Maybe we can have you run some practices here for us.
Oh, of course, definitely.
yeah. I'm trying to get Chaz down once he gets unscared and
I'll come
wants to come down.
I'll come down. I just
And
need to be unscared. You're right.
yeah. He
The
said,
New
"Give me a
England-
couple months." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, go me. I'm gonna get used to my
Yeah.
job. Get a car.
September sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, a week from
We'll see.
a year from a year from September. You know, they
Yeah.
should have a vaccine by then, I would think.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope so.
That would be a year and a half. They better. I don't know. At that point, we'd be struggling.
I mean, we're struggling now. So if
I
it just
mean,
holds out any longer, we're gonna be really struggling. So.
You know, the sad part is we look at a lot of other countries and they do just fine. Japan or whatever. You look at other countries and like they just listen and maintain distance and go about their lives and never shut anything down and just be smart. But we have a bunch of people that
You know, Chaz, I was
don't,
thinking.
We wanna
don't
do
take
what we
the
want.
common sense.
We just
They
want.
don't take the common sense precautions.
Right.
We just
Chaz,
do what we want.
next fall when you come to the wedding, I was
Mhm.
thinking we should take a trip to Tampa Bay and go watch Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski
I'd love
play
that.
Yeah, wouldn't that be
I'd
great?
love that. That
So
would be
are you guys
fantastic.
gonna be Tampa Bay fans now? That's the real question.
I'm not. How's this? I'm not a Tampa Bay fan, but I'm a fan of Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, you can't root against a guy who won you 6 championships.
Yeah,
You know,
I want him to
like,
get all the stats. Like, do the best. He's great.
I actually like Gronk. He's kind of crazy, but I like Gronk. Tom, I don't know why. Don't know why. Maybe it's because I don't like the Patriots and he was the head figure,
my God.
figurehead, whatever. But
You don't
You're
like
almost
the-
like Tom Brady in your
Yeah.
in personality
Maybe
wise, isn't he just like
maybe
him?
that's why. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Do you like Uggs?
Kissing this. What?
Do you like
Do I like
Uggs?
Uggs? I do have Ugg slippers. I do have Ugg
Exactly.
slippers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
you're.
But didn't you get me those? Or you got me into them because you had them. You loser.
What? I did that.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
I'm trying to remember.
It's all of a part of the softening up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Chaz is
yeah.
corrupting me.
He's
for
like
sure.
your Giselle Bundchen.
hmm hmm
I guess so.
Yeah, I
But
definitely.
not quite as attractive.
That's okay. I'll take that. I'll take that. Like maybe like a half a step below.
Yeah, half a step.
Half
I
a
mean,
step.
you're a pretty good looking dude.
I know I'm a very good looking dude. So
I
that's
don't
like
know if you ever seen him with his shirt off, but I have. And
Oh jeez.
Most,
got abs
most
and-
guys from Boston are pretty good looking. That's so.
Yeah. But I mean, that smile,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
will sell itself. Look at that smile. He can light up a room. He always looks happy, and that's what's awesome.
I love smiling, love being happy, being positive.
No other
As
way
long
to
as
be.
as long as he's not hiding behind it, because he does that too sometimes.
I do that sometimes during the struggles when it was during season when I had a bunch of homeworks due, had a test, and then had to make weight at the same time, and I couldn't do all. I physically didn't have enough time in the week to accomplish all of those tasks, so I had to lose on one of the tasks throughout the week. So I picked something. I was like, okay, this is
Stress
what I'm
about
gonna
it
lose
the
on.
whole week.
This is what I'm going to lose on. So I lost on that one thing, whether it was a homework, whether it was getting a lower grade on a test, because I had to make weight. I didn't have a choice there.
Yeah.
So the brain wasn't
because of-
functioning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have to make weight for you, or did you have to make weight because of your fear of Coach Gray?
It was a pride thing, but it was also like I wanted to do it for the team. I couldn't let the team down. Like Coach Gray,
you're a
yes,
team guy.
also
Mm.
it was also he'd also bring wrath on me, and that would be really, really scary. But it was more about I don't want to be that selfish to miss weight for my team.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a big thing.
So just the one question, who is the most competitive person you've ever met in your life?
Easy.
Oh, probably Kyle Dig.
Kyle Dick. Yeah. He's the most competitive person I've ever met.
I was saying probably Kyle Dick. Because he takes everything. He doesn't want to lose anything.
Right. My son went to a camp up there when he was in 7th grade. And he said he played video games with Kyle Dake, who would get so furious if he lost, and he would take it very seriously.
I mean, he's just that type of person, but like he can become good at anything. We used to play what was it? We used to play Super Smash Bros.
Super Smash Brothers.
Super Smash Bros. On the bus on the way to and from tournaments and stuff.
And he would play always be on it.
Always so good. And he just played enough that he's good, like really good. He's good at everything he does, and it's crazy. And that's part of the reason he's so competitive. I remember first time I ever beat him in anything was ping pong, and he was furious. And the only other thing I think I ever beat him in was spike ball once, twice, maybe. And I will say the last year or two, you know, he has a daughter, and I think he has another one on the way.
Yes.
No. Yes, he does.
I don't know if it's another daughter or not.
I'm not sure either, but he has another one on the way. And I'm not sure if that's lighting him up. Part of it is maturing and just being more of a coach and more of he definitely still is like confident and competitive and everything, but just like a different perspective, almost a more mature perspective to where
definitely more mature.
Yeah. It's not always like the life or death.
Gonna win the Olympics next year?
He better. I do. I really do.
He has to take out Jordan Burroughs, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Kyle, it was just watching Kyle throughout, you know, these 5 years. I know Brandon's watched him too. And it's like crazy how much better he gets every single year. It's actually frightening how much better he gets every year.
I'm a super huge fan of the way he wrestles. Yeah.
It's and he's just like a specimen. He's like a specimen of a human being.
And then wrestling him too, it's just like every good wrestler you've ever wrestled into like one guy, and he can kind of do whatever. And
he's so good.
He's so strong, and it's scary.
He's strong, but he's also like he's one of the most. Him and Yanni are just both. Yanni's different physically. He's different physical attributes that make him great. You know, flexibility and different scrambling abilities and whatnot. And Kyle's good at some of that stuff, but not quite as flexible. But he's so strong, and he doesn't look as strong as he is. I promise. Yep. But they're both just crazy about the sport of wrestling. They're super.
They're students of the sport.
Well educated. They're students of the sport. They're so educated in the sport, and they can teach you so much technique that you would never think of, and all the little things matter. And I mean, both going to be really great coaches someday. I mean, Kyle's coaching sooner. Yanni will coach in the future because that's what he wants to do. But they know the sport and the technique and everything so well, and know how to adapt, not just for you, but for everyone else. And they are both, Kyle in particular, but Yanni is going to be too, just super knowledgeable of the sport. And it's actually impressive. I mean, they've dedicated their whole life to it. Yanni, when he goes to class, he watches wrestling videos. Like, that's what he does. He watches Olympic wrestling videos all the time. He wakes up, he comes to the gym, he hangs out there for a little bit watching videos or watching practice. Then he goes to class for the day, usually watches videos in between while he's at lunch. He's watching videos, comes back to practice. I'm like, dude, like, never seen someone live in the gym like he does. And from the stories I've heard, Kyle Dake's the same way. And when you dedicate that much time and energy and effort and mental capacity to something, you're bound to get better at it. And that's what they've done.
But what happens when it's over?
Yeah, they're going to coach. I mean, you look at Kyle,
it's going to be his whole life, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, he's built a life. Kyle's built a life around it. He's built a brand around it. And I mean, he's capable of being one of the best coaches in the country for years and years and years to come, and that can be his career. And Yanni is going to do the same thing. I mean, Yanni's a special person, and he'll be able to coach wherever he wants to coach because he's that good. And he doesn't just like, yeah, he has a special ability, and he's, you know, mentally strong, and he has good coaching. And I mean, all of them have had good coaching. Yanni has an awesome coach in his corner, in my opinion, one of the best coaches in the country, Mike Gray.
100%.
And Yanni is going to be that person for someone else in the future and make good money doing it. And just, he's going to be the guy, but he has the knowledge, not just to help people that have his capabilities, but other people as well. I mean, he helped me a lot on a lot of little things, and I'm nothing close to what Yanni is. And he can help Chaz, and Chaz is a very different wrestler than he is, but he's just that knowledgeable of the sport.
So Chaz, are you retired?
I don't know yet. Most likely yes, but not this run, but maybe like next year. I'm probably not gonna go to the Olympics or wrestle for the Olympics trial, because I'm not wrestling 57 kilos. I'm not gonna do it.
You could.
I'm getting smaller as we speak, so it could happen. But
after this Olympics is 3 more years till the next one. So
yeah, I'm not trying to wrestle at 57. I could try at 65, but probably gonna be severely undersized.
You will.
So I mean, I like the world weight at 61. It's very nice. It's like right above the college weight, which was just perfect for me. So
maybe world championship run next year.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. It'll be fun. I have to
have the world championship and the Olympics in the same year.
Yeah, they usually do. Just for the world championship for non-Olympic weights, I think they have those.
Okay.
I mean, it's not as pristine as a world championship, I think, but I don't know. If I could make the team go there and win, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of dedication.
Yeah, it'll take a lot of dedication. We'll see, though. I'm coaching now, but I'd have to pour a lot of dedication into training again. So.
Where would you like to train?
I mean, I wouldn't move from Massachusetts, so somewhere around here. I just need, I don't know, maybe the Harvard room, maybe not, maybe somewhere else.
Penn State, maybe?
What?
Penn State, maybe?
Oh, no, I would want to stay in Boston.
Oh, okay.
Boston. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to going down there for a weekend or like a week in wrestling or something like that, just to get different feels, or just if someone wanted to wrestle me and they're like, hey, let's come down for a week, I'd be like, okay, why not? Yeah, I'm all about trying to get everyone better. So.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for bringing them on, Brandon. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
I will say, go Patriots, go Red Sox, go Celtics, go Bruins, go Big Red.
Mm-hmm.